I was hauling dry van freight on a cheap run because I just paid off a repo mess from last year, and my plan was to sleep 4 hours at a quiet pull-off, keep my doors locked, keep my curtains shut, then roll before dawn to beat traffic. I wasn't looking for trouble or company, just a dark patch of pavement where my logbook wouldn't screw me and nobody would bang on my door. I'd been running stupid hours all week, chasing a delivery window that kept shrinking because dispatch loved saying, "Just one more favor, like favors pay my insurance." My legs were buzzing from caffeine and anger. I picked a shoulder turnout I'd driven past 100 times and always told myself I wouldn't use. It wasn't a rest area. It was a widened strip of pavement near a dead service road. No lights, no bathrooms, no cameras I could see, just a couple rigs scattered like trash someone forgot to haul off. I parked nose out. Always nose out. Brakes set. Lights off. I sat there with my hands on the wheel until the cab stopped ticking from heat. I climbed into the bunk with my boots still on because I don't trust the night, and because if you need to move fast, you don't want to be barefoot and stupid. I shoved my phone under my pillow, pulled the curtains tight, and tried to shut my brain off. It didn't shut off. It just dimmed. What woke me wasn't a bang or a bump. It was a soft metal click from the back, like someone touched my trailer doors the way you touch a sleeping kid's bedroom door, so it won't creak. I stayed flat and listened. Then I heard the slow scrape of a seal getting cut. Not rushed, not messy, clean. Whoever was back there knew what they were doing and didn't care if I was inside. I slid out of the bunk and into the driver's seat without turning on the dome light. I kept my head low and watched the mirrors like I was spying on my own life. At first there was nothing but darkness and the dull shape of my trailer. Then a figure moved near the doors, crouched low in the shadow. Another stood farther out, near the edge of the shoulder, looking at traffic like a lookout. They didn't stumble. They didn't joke around. They worked. My first thought was to lay on the horn. My second thought was that horn blasts don't stop men who bring tools. I don't carry a gun. I carry a CDL and a pile of bills and a company that will throw me under a bus if the bus is on time. I hit the panic button on my key fob. The truck chirped like it was embarrassed. The crouched guy froze. The lookout didn't even flinch. He lifted a hand, slow, like he was telling me to go ahead and try. That calm made my stomach turn, like I was the entertainment. I cranked the engine. The cab shook alive. Headlights snapped on and washed them in hard white. Two men, dark clothes, gloves. The crouched one had bolt cutters. The lookout had a phone held up at chest level, lens pointed right at me. He wasn't scanning the area. He was filming me. He wanted my face, my reaction, my fear. The bolt cutter guy didn't run. He yanked the door harder, trying to pop it before I moved. I dumped the brake and rolled forward. Gravel popped. The trailer lurched. The bolt cutter guy hopped back, but not far enough. My trailer tire didn't crush him. It brushed his foot. That was still enough. He went down and screamed, and that scream wasn't cinematic. It was raw pain and rage, like I'd ripped something out of him. The lookout sprinted straight at my driver's door. He grabbed the handle and yanked like he expected it to open. When it didn't, he slapped the window hard enough to rattle it. His mouth moved. I couldn't hear him over the engine, but I didn't need sound to understand the vibe. He shoved the phone closer to the glass, trying to catch my eyes, trying to own me on video. I floored it. The truck surged, slow but unstoppable, and the trailer snapped behind me like a pissed-off dog. Gravel sprayed. The lookout stumbled and fell away from the door. I didn't stop to see where he landed. I got back onto the highway and drove like my heart was trying to climb out of my throat. A few miles later, my dash blinked, trailer door ajar. My stomach dropped. I dragged the doors open. Wind started grabbing the trailer and shoving it sideways. The whole rig began that ugly sway that makes you picture the headline before it happens. I fought the wheel, backed off the throttle, threw hazards on. Cars blasted past and shoved air at my trailer, each one making it twitch. I white-knuckled it to the shoulder and stopped with the brakes whining, like the truck itself was complaining about my life choices. I grabbed my flashlight and jumped down, legs shaky. I walked back and the doors were hanging open, flapping just enough to make the metal clack. Inside, boxes were torn open, shrink wrap ripped. The air hit me, and I knew someone had been in there. Not just hands, bodies, sweat, and piss. I climbed up and swept my light toward the front where it was darkest behind the pallets. That's where I saw him. A man curled on the floor, jammed behind the load like somebody hid him the way you hide contraband. His wrists were raw and taped. His mouth was taped too. His eyes were huge, wet, and locked onto me like I was either rescue or the next problem. He was alive. Alive in my trailer. I didn't ask who he was. I didn't do the dumb, "Are you okay?" routine. I ripped the tape off his mouth, and he sucked air like he'd been starved of it. I tore the tape off his wrists, and he winced hard, shoulders shaking. I shoved my water bottle into his hands. He drank and spilled it all over himself because his hands wouldn't stop trembling. He kept pointing behind us, down the road, like there were more of them coming, like those two guys were just the tip. I called 911 with my hand shaking so bad I almost dropped the phone. The operator started with the calm questions, and my temper cracked. I snapped that I had a taped-up man in my trailer, and I didn't know how he got there. She asked where I was, and I stuttered through mile markers and exit numbers like a kid reciting homework. I kept watching the darkness beyond my trailer because I couldn't stop imagining headlights swinging in and someone walking up smiling. When the cops finally rolled up, red and blue splashing over my cab, I felt relief for half a second. Then they treated me like I'd built the whole thing. They pulled me out first. Hands visible. Step back. One of them stared at my rig like it offended him. They asked why my seal was missing. They asked why my doors were open. They asked why I was parked where I was parked. One of them asked if I'd been drinking. I said, "Are you fucking serious?" And he stiffened like that proved something. They looked at my logbook like it was the real crime scene. They asked about my route. They asked why I didn't call sooner. They asked why I didn't have a weapon. They asked if I knew the mail. The way he said it made my skin crawl, like the guy in my trailer was evidence and I was the suspect. I kept trying to explain, words tripping over each other, and they kept cutting me off to tell me to calm down. Calm down. Like my trailer wasn't just used as a cage. They pulled the man out and got EMTs on him. He tried to speak and couldn't. He kept pointing down the road and shaking his head. A cop walked the shoulder with a flashlight for show. Another took photos of my cut seal, my torn freight, my open doors like he was building a case file against me. I called dispatch as soon as they let me breathe. My dispatcher didn't ask if I was okay. He asked what was missing. He asked if I parked authorized. I said there were two guys with bolt cutters and a taped-up man in my trailer. The dispatcher got quiet for 2 beats, then started talking about cargo claims and policy. I lost it. I told him to shove his policy. He warned me about my tone like that mattered. The next day my company called and did the same thing, but with a nicer voice. Security violation. That's what they labeled it. They said I failed to secure the load. They said I chose an unsafe parking location. They said I caused a compromise. I argued until my throat hurt. They didn't care. They needed a clean story, and I was the dirty part. They fired me like I'd invited it. The cops never called me back with answers. Nobody told me who that man was, or who put him in my trailer, or why 2 assholes were cutting my seal like it was a hobby. They never found the 2 guys. They never found who put that man in my trailer. My company fired me anyway. Security violation. Like I chose it. I still wake up hearing that soft click of the doors, and I still picture the lookout filming me like I was content. I was on my 3rd week of running long haul after switching companies, chasing a sign-on bonus that turned out to be bullshit, and my plan was simple. Push through the night, skip the sketchy stops, fuel once at a busy station, then hand the load off at the terminal by morning without fucking up. I had coffee, sunflower seeds, and that dumb confidence you get right before fatigue starts chewing holes in your brain. The highway emptied out after midnight. Nothing but reflectors, black fields, and the steady tire hum. I kept my speed clean and boring because boring keeps you alive and keeps DOT off your ass. I watched my clock, watched my mirrors, watched the fuel gauge creep down. New company loved their compliance. They didn't care that you're alone out there in a rolling box. They cared that your logs looked pretty. Around 2 a.m., a car settled behind me and wouldn't pass. Not tailgating, not falling back, just parked in my mirrors like it belonged there. I moved right to give it space. It moved right. I moved left. It moved left. I slowed a little. It slowed with me. I sped up. It matched it. After 10 minutes, that starts to feel less like coincidence and more like someone keeping a leash on you. I try to talk myself down because that's what you do when you're tired. You invent reasons. Maybe they're scared to pass. Maybe they're pacing for safety. Maybe it's a cop. My brain handed me excuses because the truth, someone watching me, felt too sharp to hold. My fuel was getting low enough to force a decision. I hated stopping late, but I hated gambling more. I took a truck stop off the highway because it was lit and had a few rigs parked, which meant witnesses, cameras, people. I pulled up to the diesel island, swiped, started pumping, and checked my mirrors again. The same car rolled in and parked crooked across 2 spots facing me. Engine running. No one got out. No phone light. No door opening. Just idling. I kept pumping and stared at that windshield glare, trying to see a face. Nothing. I could feel my stomach tighten anyway. Not panic. More like my body saying, don't be dumb, don't turn your back. I finished fast, hung the nozzle, climbed back in, and started to creep forward. My trailer jolted like it hit a curb. The whole rig shuddered. I snapped my head to the mirrors and saw a guy in my tandems with both hands on the trailer like he'd been waiting for that exact moment. He yanked something once hard, then darted back. I slammed the brakes and threw it in park. I didn't even think. I was out the door with my flashlight because that's the only weapon most drivers have. The guy ran low between trailers, fast and practiced. I took 2 steps after him, then stopped dead because I'm not an action movie and I'm not getting stabbed behind a row of park sleepers at 2 a.m. I circled back to my tractor, kept my light moving, and did a quick check. No obvious airline hanging. No fees. Nothing cut. But when I hit the side door latch with my beam, I saw fresh scratches, bright metal showing through like somebody had been prying at it with a tool. That wasn't road wear. That was new. That's when the whole setup clicked. The pacing car, the parked car, the guy touching my trailer the second I moved. They weren't messing around. They wanted me distracted. They wanted me out of the cab. They wanted access, or they wanted me vulnerable for 10 seconds. I jumped back in and locked up. I sat there breathing through my teeth, watching that car across the island. It stayed. Then it started rolling toward the exit, slow and calm, like it was timing something. Right then another car slid in behind my trailer and stopped in the exact spot that blocked my swing out. No há ligas flashing, no apology. Just a block. Clean. My mouth went dry. I leaned on the air horn and held it down until it hurt. That sound ripped through the lot. Heads popped out of cabs. A dude in flip-flops shuffled out, stared at me like I was the asshole for waking him up. I yelled at him to move his ass and look, but he just stood there with that sleepy blank face like this was entertainment. The blocking car hesitated. That hesitation told me everything. It backed up, slow, like it suddenly remembered witnesses exist. The first car rolled out of the lot like it had all night. Calm as hell. Like nothing happened. I didn't play hero. I didn't chase plates. I didn't go inside to tell a cashier who'd just shrug. I pulled out and got back on the highway with my hands tied on the wheel and my heart banging like it wanted out. For a while I felt sharp, like fear had flipped a switch and I'd run on pure adrenaline to sunrise. Then the adrenaline drained and fatigue stepped in like it owned me. That's the part people don't get. Fear doesn't replace sleep. It just rides on top of it until you crack. 20 minutes later, my eyes started doing that slow, heavy blink. I fought it. I chewed seeds until my jaw hurt. I blasted cold air. I slapped my face. I still hid a micro sleep. One blink that turned into a missing second. The truck drifted. The rumble strip buzzed my whole body and snapped me awake. In my headlights, dead center on the shoulder, a man stood facing me too close. He didn't wave. He didn't stumble. He didn't do the normal stranded driver dance. He just stood there like he wanted me to commit to a choice. I jerked the wheel on reflex. The trailer snapped behind me, and the whole rig did that ugly sway where you feel 10 tons arguing with you. For half a second, I saw him in my mirror, still standing, still upright, like he hadn't moved at all. I didn't hear a thump. I didn't hear a scream. Nothing hit. Nothing dragged. Just road noise and my own breathing turning ragged. I pulled over hard, hazards on, shaking like I'd just gotten off a roller coaster. I grabbed my flashlight and walked back along the shoulder, scanning the ditch, the grass, the guardrail. I expected to find something. Anything. Footprints. A torn jacket. A body. Proof I wasn't losing my mind. There was nothing. No tracks. No scoof marks. No broken brush. Just my tire marks and hot brake smell. I stood there staring into the dark like it was going to answer me. It didn't. I got back in and drove straight to the terminal because I didn't trust myself to stop again. Dawn crept up and made everything look normal, which somehow made it worse. Normal light doesn't erase what happened at night. It just makes you look crazy when you try to explain it. I rolled in the yard, parked sloppy, and walked into dispatch wired and pissed off. The night dispatcher barely looked up. I told him somebody tried to pop my trailer latch and box me in at truck stop. I told him I almost wrecked dodging a guy standing too close on the shoulder right after. He let out a laugh like I'd told him a ghost story. He said I needed sleep and to stop seeing shit. Then he asked if my seal was intact. That set me off. I told him to shove his seal up his ass. I told him my load papers weren't worth my life. He got defensive fast, like I was attacking him personally instead of warning him. He said if I wanted to make it a thing, I could write it up, but he also said not to put crazy in the report because safety would chew us both. That pissed me off more than the laugh. Not because it was shocking, because it was normal. Keep it quiet. Keep it moving. Don't make waves. 2 days later, another driver from our company got robbed at that same truck stop. Same kind of setup. 2 cars. Block and distract. They got him out of the cab, took his wallet, his phone, and his load papers and vanished before anyone even got a clean look. He showed up at the terminal with a busted lip and that blank stare people get after they realize how close they came to worse. The cops called it opportunistic crime, like it was random, like it wasn't a method. I kept replaying the night in my head. The pacing car that wouldn't pass. The guy at my tandems yanking something the second I moved. The scratches on my latch. The 2-car coordination. Then that man on the shoulder right when fatigue finally won. I don't know if that last one was real. I don't know if it was bait, or my brain hallucinating to keep me awake, or a trick they've used before. I just know it happened exactly when I was weakest, and that timing feels like a hand on the back of your neck. I still think about the man in my headlights. I don't know if he was real, if he was bait, if he was my brain breaking, or if they'd been running me for hours waiting for me to slip. I just know that when you're tired in a 1,000-pound cab, your body becomes the weak point, and predators don't need a weapon. They just need time. I was running a reefer load overnight because dispatch screwed up the appointment window and I needed the miles to cover my kids' braces. So I planned a quick piss stop, top off diesel, check the trailer seal, and be rolling again in 10 minutes without shutting the truck off. I've been on the road since before sunrise, hands sticky from oranges at the last dock, eyes gritty, and I kept telling myself, don't get cute, don't linger, don't talk to anyone. The rest area sat off the highway like a dead tooth. A few parked rigs, no one moving, sodium lights buzzing. I eased into a spot where I could pull forward, not back. I set my brake, kept the engine running, grabbed my flashlight, and did my walk around first because that's the habit that keeps you alive. Tires looked fine. Fifth wheel looked locked. Reefer humming steady. Seal still on the door. I started toward the bathroom and saw a minivan idling near the truck parking. Nose aimed at the exit. Lights off. Somebody inside watched me through the windshield. I felt that prickly nope in my neck and forced myself not to stare. I went anyway because I'm stubborn and I hate being scared by nothing. Halfway there, a guy stepped out from behind the vending machines like he'd been waiting for me to pass. Hoodie up, hands buried, too clean for a traveler. He walked close enough that I smelled mouthwash and stale smoke. "Hey, man, need a quick ride?" "My girl's car." He pointed nowhere. His voice stayed soft like he didn't want to carry. I kept moving. "No." He matched my pace. "Just your phone then." "Just a call." I heard footsteps behind me too. Not his. Another set, heavier, staying off to my right. That's when a minivan's side door slid open without a sound. I didn't see who did it. I just saw the dark gap and the way the inside looked like a cave. The hoodie guy reached out like he was going to grab my elbow, not punch me, just steer me. Friendly violence. The kind that gets you in a vehicle before you even process it. I snapped my flashlight up and jammed the beam into his face. He flinched. I didn't stop. I ran back to my truck like my life depended on it, because it did. The heavier footsteps sped up. Gravel spit. Someone yelled, "Hey," like I dropped my wallet, not like they were hunting me. I hit my door, yanked it open, and climbed in sideways. Hand shook so bad I missed the lock twice. Something slammed against the passenger door as I got it shut, a fist or a shoulder. My cab rocked. I stomped the lock button and threw the truck into gear with the brakes still set, engine snarling like it was pissed off with me. I heard a boot scrape my steps and felt the cab jolt again, like someone tried to climb up and got shoved off by the moving door frame. The minivan rolled forward, trying to angle across my front bumper. It moved smooth, like they'd done this before and had a clock running. I dumped the brake, mashed the throttle, and dragged my trailer a foot sideways before it started moving. My bumper kissed the minivan's rear quarter panel. Metal squealed. My mirror caught a blur of a face inside the van, eyes wide, mouth open like a fish. The van backed up fast and disappeared into the dark. I didn't stop at the next rest area. I didn't stop at the next fuel island either. I drove with my shoulders up around my ears, scanning mirrors, flinching at every set of headlights that stayed behind me too long. I called dispatch on speaker because I needed it documented and because I was too pissed to keep in my chest. I told them I got rushed at a rest area and had to roll. The guy asked if the equipment was damaged and if I was still making the appointment. I said, "You're worried about a bumper while I'm telling you two guys tried to shove me into a van." Put it in the load notes. I'm not stopping again until daylight. He told me to keep it together and focus on the delivery. Like fear is a distraction I can toggle off. I drove until I hit a lit truck stop with cameras and people and noise, and I parked where other drivers could see me. When I got out, my trailer seal was gone. Not broken. Gone clean like someone clipped it off and pocketed it while I was running. That made my stomach drop harder than the van did. A missing seal turns you into an easy target for every accusation. I stood there with my flashlight on the latch, looking for the number like it might be hiding. I checked the ground for pieces. I checked my pockets like I'd blacked out and cut it myself. Nothing. The cut point was clean. Whoever did it didn't rush. I called dispatch again from the lot because I needed a new seal number issued before anyone could touch the doors. They started talking like I was already guilty. "Did you leave the truck unattended?" I said I ran 30 yards and back while two guys chased me. "So, yeah, technically. Was the seal intact when you left the shipper?" I said I checked it twice and I had the number on the paperwork. Then he hit me with, "Any chance you removed it yourself?" I told him to repeat that accusation on the recorded line and spell his name because I wasn't taking a fall for some shit I didn't do. He got real quiet, then started talking about policy and chain of custody, like the van door wasn't even part of the story. Safety called next. Different voice, same cold tone. They wanted my exact timeline, asked if I'd been drinking, asked if I was stable to continue operating. Like my fear was the hazard, not the people waiting in the dark. I asked if they were requesting footage from the truck stop. They said they'd look into it. I asked if they wanted me to sit here with a compromised seal or drive. They told me to use my best judgment, then reminded me claims depend on proper procedures. It was corporate speak for, "If this turns into a mess, we'll hang it on you." I marched inside and told the counter guy to call the cops. He gave me the bored look and said, "For what?" I said, "For tampering and attempted abduction. Pick one." He finally called when I got loud enough that a couple other drivers looked up. I hated that I had to perform panic to be taken seriously. When the cops showed, they asked the same dumb questions people ask when they've never had a stranger decide you're a thing instead of a person. Why didn't I get a plate? Why did I run? Why did I hit the van? I told them the truth. Because I like breathing. They walked the trailer, shined the latch, took a report number, and said they'd request footage if it existed. The manager hovered behind them and looked annoyed, like the crime was bad for business. One cop told me seals get stolen all the time, like that was supposed to calm me down. He said it like a fact of life, like weather, like I should shrug and go back to work. They told me to hold at a nearby drop yard until dispatch decided what to do with the load. So I sat behind a chain-link fence with other rejected trailers, listening to my reefer burn fuel all day. Every white van that rolled past the gate made my gut clench. I kept checking the latch like a tick. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sit still. My mind kept jumping to the worst version of this, the version where the seal wasn't the end of it. Missing seal, broken chain of custody, driver had access, me explaining to some DOT guy why my security tag vanished while my family wonders why I'm not answering my phone. That night, I paid for a motel because my clock was shot and because I couldn't make myself sleep in another dark lot. I left my boots on. I slept with my keys in my hand like a child. I woke up twice thinking I heard a sliding door. In the morning, dispatch finally told me to go to the receiver anyway and see what happens, like they were betting with my paycheck. I went because I needed to be able to say I tried. At the gate, I told the guard the seal was gone and I had a report number. He didn't care about my story. He cared about his clipboard. He told me to pull to the side. They made me wait long enough for my heart to slow down and then kicked me anyway. A supervisor came out, saw the empty latch, and said, "No seal, no unload." I told him the reefer temp held and the door stayed shut. He said policy. I offered to let them inspect every pallet right there with me, standing next to it. He pointed at a laminated sheet taped to the window and told me to leave the property or he'd call the cops. I stood there for a second, jaw tight, realizing the loop. The people who tried to grab me could disappear into the night, but if I raised my voice one more notch, I'd be the one getting removed in handcuffs for causing a disturbance. Dispatch tried to blame me for the missing seal. The receiver rejected the load. I lost 2 days of pay and ate the hotel myself. I still don't know if that was the whole point. Get me out of the truck so they could cut the seal, plant something, steal something, or if I was the thing they wanted. I just know how close that door sounded when it slid open, like it had done it 1,000 times.